All right, so we're on part two of five-part series for the useful gods. Huh? And so here we now move on to advanced level for Pacha. And for the advanced level, we would continue as we rework on what we have learned or shared in the earlier sessions. Has come into identifying which would be considered to be the important elements. All right, now from the top, of course, when you read a chart, so when you look into a natal chart once you have plotted it, and the substantial difference between Yuan Hai Chipping and all the previous work will be that the focal point is the day master. Therefore, we will consider that we start off with the day master. So the day master becomes the most important element, the reference point. And so as we refer to the day master, here we would see that on this sample chart right now, we find a pink fire day master. And of course, we can then attribute and associate the characteristics and the features of pink fire to the person. And so this being a male, we then have a pink fire day master, male. And what do we do? What do we do from our analysis? We start to appraise the strength of the day master. So the strength of the day master by way of season, routing, and supporting elements. So look at this chart and tell me, what is your opinion about the strength of this day master on the screen? Find that number one, the pink fire is born in summer, born in summer. So pink fire born in summer in the month of the goat, born in the right season. The pink fire is peak. We'll find that there is pink fire routing. It is routing. So it's routing in, you have partial routing in the ting fire and pink fire. And what produces pink fire? Earth. So there is earth protruded into the stems, rooted. Therefore, right season, rooted, and prosperous. So here we find that the pink fire is strong, very, very strong. So this is a very, very strong day master. Okay, now, so the first most important element when we read a natal chart will be the day master. What is now the second most important element? The first being the day master. What will be the second most important element? And that will be the useful god. And so now the journey begins on what is the useful god for this day master. And so we do have a schedule. The schedule comes from the poems of Yuan Hai Tzu. And therefore, as you look into the schedule, we refer to a pink fire day master born in the month of the goat. So as you look into the day master of pink fire born in the month of the goat, what would be the useful gods as per the useful gods as per the poem? So we find that we have rainwater and kung metal. Kung metal because kung metal is needed to soften, to break the hardened earth. Because the goat or the way is summer, and during summer, earth is hard. So we need kung metal to break the earth, and rainwater has, per our sharing in the first part, rainwater is perpetual. So if you look into pink fire, you'll find that rainwater is perennial. So for all the 12 months, rainwater is always there. Now, which other stems will also, you will also find rainwater to be perennial? Very easy. The wife of the pink fire, which is the seed. So maybe this will save you the time to refer to the chart If you find ping day master and you find sin day master, the one thing that saves you the time will be that run water is a useful god every for all seasons. So these are perennial. Okay, so base coming back to our chart, we find a pink fire day master born in the month of the goat. We'll find that based on this schedule, the useful god should be the rainwater and the curb. And first and foremost, theoretical. Theoretically speaking, rainwater and kung metal should be the useful god. Now look into this chart. Do we find rainwater? Yes or no? No. So there's no rainwater. Kung metal. Do we find kung metal? Yes or no? No. So no rainwater, no kung metal. Therefore, these two are not the useful god. We refer to the schedule as a starting point, but we don't find it. Therefore, they're not. Therefore, they're not. Now, of course, we can go further. There are labels we can use. And so now let's take a look into the characteristics of the metal. Okay, so for for the useful god, we now come into what we call your real or void. Real or void. And so real should, should will then be what we known as the real useful god. So useful god has to be real. To be real means it must be clearly visible on a natal chart. And so if you do not find it on a natal chart, then it is not real. It must appear either on the stems or on the branches for it to be real. So useful god has to be real. So you cannot just refer to the schedule and then you cannot just refer to the schedule and then just treat it as a useful god. We start from here. Starting from here is safe, it's easy, but we cannot stop here because truly it is not. It is not. So if it is not, then now the question is, what then is the real useful God? What then? So, so from what we have discovered from our basic understanding of Pacha, very, very basic, we can then say that typically, basic as in the textbook style, that if the day master is strong, then these are the favorable elements. For a day master is weak, then these are the favorable elements. And so now, typically as we can consider that we are referring to a very prosperous, strong pink fire day master, and therefore the real useful god will be either a one that weakens it on the output. So what are the output? What will be the output elements for this pink fire day master? What is the output for pink? The earth. Okay, earth. Fine. Therefore, we can now say that earth will be the output element and output will weaken. It will weaken, it will cover the fire because this fire is too hot, it is too strong. Therefore, we need earth to weaken it. So do we find earth? Oh, yes, we do. Yes, we do. Both. So truded and rooted. Truded and rooted. Therefore, therefore we find that there will be rooting into it, and of course, sits on it. Right. So therefore, we do find that our Earth is also equally very strong, and therefore the output is also very strong because it is both rooted and of course the season supports it, not supported by season. So we do have, your, uh, so we do have your, hold on, so we do have your, I find it difficult to. So we do find that we have the Wu Earth, which is your eating god. And we also find that we have the Qi Earth, which is the hurting officer. Therefore, the earth element, they are real pessimists. Now, besides earth, we then see that we have wealth. So what represents wealth? Metal. Metal then represents wealth. Is there wealth stuff? Do we find metal? No. Zero metal. Therefore, none exists. If none exists, then this cannot be a useful god. And now we come on into the officer. And what would be the officer to metal? What would be the officer star to metal? And we'll find that water will be the officer star. And again, none. So this chart is quite vibrant. This chart is quite either a fake vibrant or vibrant. It has no metal at all and no water at all. So this chart has only fire and earth. This chart is excessively hot. Excessively. And therefore, the real useful god can either be the hurting officer or it can be the wolf. So either these two. And these two are the same output but opposite polarity, therefore confusion. Therefore here we have a bit of confusion, a bit of a dilemma, because here we need to determine that between these two, which will be the ultimate. Which will be the ultimate. Now both can be ultimate because they are earth, and so in proximity to the day master will be hurting officer. And therefore, we may want to take it. We may want to take it that at the end of the day, the real useful god will be the Chi Earth, which is the hurting officer. And therefore, the first important part. Okay, Pei has a question. Yes, there is. What combination do we have? A horse and a goat. Oh, yes, that is correct. So a horse and a goat combines together to form fire. We also have tiger, yin, wu, shi. Therefore, there is a silent push in a way. What is also present in the chart? There's also a hidden element. We have the tiger, we have the horse, and therefore there is a dog. So therefore, there's a silent dog in this chart, which is all. So therefore, producing fire. So therefore, this chart is super, super hot with no water and no metal in the chart. Okay, so therefore, step number one. Step number one is a given. You start with the day master. Then, of course, in intermediate level, we determine the fasa, and then we determine the structure of the day master. And now we come into the second most important element, which is the useful. So since the useful god is protruded to the stems side by side with the day master, then this becomes the defining character for the day master. This day master is a fire, pink fire hurting officer. So pink fire hurting officer, and the structure is also hurting officer. So hurting officer sitting on hurting officer becomes strong. And there is another hurting officer here with another hurting officer here as well. So therefore, and too many hurting officers actually make it an officer. Therefore, the person is very rebellious because hurting officer is rebellious. It hurts the officer, challenges the establishment, and of course, with excessive hurting officer, it itself will eventually become a direct officer one day. Because when you go too far extreme to the right, you actually become the left. And when you go extreme far left, you actually become right, so to speak. All right. So is the metal okay. Fidelia, now your question is excellent, huh? Because your question opens up to the next part. So we do have what we call the white god, which is the Shishan, the white god. Therefore, don't worry about all these jargons. I mean, the poems of the past likes to throw in a lot of labels and a lot of titles, and then with so white god, real god, useful gods, harmful gods, and so on. But anyway, now we come into what we call the white god. Now here, Ren, and Jia. Oh, sorry, not Jia, sorry, Ren and Keng. Remember? Ren and Keng. So Fadeli, when you mention about the metal in the dog, what metal is that? Thin metal. So then no lah. Then no. Then but if it's Keng metal, then yes. Because if you refer to the schedule, we are supposed to see Ren and Keng. And so these two are not real. To the person's chart is not real. So the question is maybe it may be a white god. Maybe it can be a white god. So this is where when the product of a heavenly stem, when the product of heavenly stem combination results may be considered white. Now, what combines with what forms Ren water? What combined with what forms Keng? Okay, Ronald, your question is another chart. Well, I may not be able to just bring up another chart now, but then we'll just go with the chart that we have and then we'll move on to another chart. See how we can play with missing chart. All right, so here we know, what do we know? We know that pink fire combines with sin metal, produces water. So if any pink and sin combine together, it forms water. Therefore, this may be that white god. So when a product of a heavenly stem combines, results in a useful god. This product is considered to be a white god. When the useful god is not present in the chart, but is hidden. And therefore, like what Fadali would try to suggest, that we have a dog hidden just now, and the dog hidden may be a hidden element, may be a white. And so to be safe, or we may want to find that if there's any white god around, and therefore there may be the Ren and now something like a Uno reversal card. What is useful if it's not there may become harmful. Therefore, this is where we now look into the impact. A real useful god in a favorable position brings great wealth and status. And so for our pink fire chart, this hurting officer is favorable. It is a favorable element. Actually, a useful god should be favorable. So therefore, it's favorable and it's very strong and side by side. Therefore, this is a real useful god, and it can then be a potential to bring potential wealth and status. So this useful god has great potential. It has great potential. So it has great potential to bring status and wealth. And so this day master should emphasize. This day master should focus on being a hurting officer. That means that, and that is your career. So it also becomes your career pillar. So it becomes fantastic when your career pillar is your useful god, because it then becomes your defining characteristics that elevates you. So therefore, that's what it means. For a white god, if not restrained, so be careful, because the moment it restrained, it actually becomes harmful, can bring success. First, four luck pillars. First four luck pillars. When a white god encounters restraining elements in luck cycles, annual cycle, then the danger is that it may pose risk to longevity. Therefore, this means death, or this means a risk of early death. And so this means that in its application, so this particular day master will then find that the void will now be the void useful god will now be both the ren and the keng, and therefore this day master should not see ren and keng. So this is where it can. That's why we consider this to be advanced, because this table is now like a Uno reversal. Ren and keng should be favorable, but because it is void, it is now unfavorable, and it becomes potentially a calamity. Potentially a calamity. That's where, because of its unique nature, especially for this chart. So this chart is void of water, void of metal. So this chart should not see metal, should not see water. Because if we just follow the basic literature, then we can find that this chart is too hot, and a useful element to reduce the temperature, to bring it to balance, would be water. But now we will find that this is no longer the case. It is something like this. If you drive too fast in a car, then you should apply a brake. But if you drive too fast, then please don't brake. Because the moment you jam on the brakes, the car will spin out of control. Therefore, this is where, for this particular chart, which is very strong, quite vibrant, then water will no longer be element. So that's where we need to identify what will be, whether or not there is such an element called the white god. So therefore we have, so the white god, and so to find it in all simplicity, the white god is from the schedule, or from what should be the god that you should have. Now if you can use, if it is not in constraint, if the white god is not in constraint, then we may prefer to use it, because white god is less likely to be harmed or clash because they are not in the chart. But more often than not, we can consider to be avoid filling the white god with the real elements. Avoid. Therefore, this is a crucial part to avoid. So it can be harmful. It can be harmful if we just read the schedule and say, oh, you need rainwater, you need keng metal, so let us activate these two for you, and that would be actually harmful. So in that case, it will be quite to avoid. Quite to avoid. And so the effects of the white god will then manifest upon the arrival of the luck cycle and of the yearly luck. Of the yearly. So now let's take a look into another chart. So I have another chart for you. All right, come. Let's look into this chart. Run the drill one more time. This is a male. It's a male chart. It's a male chart. Sin metal male. Okay, so what do we do in the first part? We assess the strength of the day master. Right, all right, Johnny, good. Metal born in the month of spring is trap, date. So the day must, and season. Season explains 80% of the strength. Therefore, we find a weak day master. It's rooted, all right. Rooted on the self, but then the self is death and emptiness. therefore a bit strong. And what produces metal? Earth. Therefore, Earth produces metal, but Earth itself also white. Therefore, I would say that average, average. Not very weak, not very strong either. So therefore, in terms of grading, maybe on a rating of 1 to 10, I might give it a 5, a 4, around there. So 5 out of 10 average in terms of grading. Right, huh? Okay, so now we assess the strength of the day master because the day master is the day master is the immediate person. And so now let's take a look into the schedule. Okay, straight away this is sin metal. Sin metal, theoretical useful god will be Ren. Now easy. Therefore, straight away, Ren water is a useful god perennial for all the 12 months for a sin metal. So sin metal really loves to be washed by Ren. But now we refer to the schedule that we find a sin metal born in the month of what again? Sin metal born, no, ox. No, not ox. Mao. It's a sin metal born in the month of the rabbit. So we have a sin metal born in the month of the rabbit, and therefore Ren and Jia. Ren and Jia. Right. Therefore, we find that it should be Ren and Jia. But also, so we refer to the schedule. The schedule is useful as a starting point. And now, so do we find rainwater anywhere? Is there rainwater in this chart? Don't have. Okay, so there's no rainwater at all. Is there jiawood at all? There is no jiawood. All right, so now we have yet another chart that has no, the useful god is not from the standard. So since it's not from the standard, then this may now be considered to be void. So this may now be, so these two become voids. All right. But now we need to establish the real useful god. So there must be a useful god. There must be. If the chart absolutely have no useful god at all, basically it's like a premature death, or it runs into a very high risk for the life. It will then live a life that cannot be sustainable. So there must be a real useful, one way or the other. And so now the grading of the chart. It's a bit tricky sometimes when the chart is not point blank, very clear. The earlier chart that we saw is point blank, it's very point blank. Therefore, it's right season, rooted, supported. So very, very clearly that it's a very, very strong day master. And here is more like not too sure. But generally it's born out of season, then it's safer to say it's more weak than strong. So if it is a weak day master, then the favorable element would be the resource. And what is the resource element to a sin day master? Earth. So does it have earth? It has earth. Yes, there is earth. There is a G earth. The G earth is the IR. And so we can identify earth. Is there a Wu earth? Is there a Wu earth? No. Good. Because we don't like confusion. We don't like confusion. It'd be nice for us to have one rather than two. Therefore, okay, all right. So this J earth will be a potential candidate. to be it. Now, besides favorable element, what would be the next? The next one would be your self. Is there a self element? The self element would be your friend star. Friend star. Therefore, we have yet another sin, which is a friend star. But, sin metal doesn't like to see another sin metal. You don't bring a lady to a ballroom with a very nice dress, and this lady doesn't like to see another same lady with the same dress. Therefore, sin is comparative. Metal is argumentative. So metal does not like to see another metal. Therefore, take away. Therefore, water is different. Water loves to see another water. Wood also, they don't like to see each other. Earth and earth can. Earth and earth is okay. Fire and fire is okay. Fire and fire, water and water, they're okay. Metal and metal, no. Wood and wood also no. Therefore, no. We can rule out self to be, especially sin metal. Peng maybe not so bad. A gang of brothers, but not sin metal. So therefore, take out. So we will not consider. So there's only one left. Therefore, here we do consider that the chi earth will then have to be the useful God. So the real useful God. So you can then identify the real useful God to be the chi earth. And this will be the fasa. The fasa is rooted. Therefore, the indirect resource is useful. Indirect will be useful. And for chi earth to be a resource, the person is very resourceful, intelligent, witty, funny, think out of the box, and so on. Therefore, that will be the characteristics that the person should go. And so, any advice, any direction is where the real useful God, if it is rooted and it is protruded, it will then have great potential to bring wealth and to bring so-called status to the person. Therefore, there will be good success for this particular person. All right. So therefore, that's where the first important element will be the day master, and the second will then be the useful God. And so once we can identify this, then that will be one way forward that we can